And I thought, geez, imagine that. So the song that I just sang by Charlie 3 was the song that I was supposed to sing now. So you know what that means?
Sing it again. Sing another song.
No, that's for after the talk.
Sing it again.
Sing it again.
You have to be committed.
You guys are incredible. See, I have this idea, I have this committee that says, no. Once you sing something, that's it for at least 2 years. No, I'm kidding. I don't have enough songs in my repertoire to live that out. Does feel like there's something missing though, doesn't there? Oh, good. Let's get right into it. You know, that codependent part of me steps up and says, well, if they're feeling like there's something unfinished that needs to be done, it's your responsibility to take care of it, right? No. That's what the psyche wants me to believe. Does yours want you to believe that kind of stuff too?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was sitting in my apartment last night and I was feeling pretty good about the way everything is coming together and, doing everything I could to surrender each moment, knowing that this is a big day for us. Lots happening at Unity of San Jose. And it just so fits, because I have to chuckle, because every time, it doesn't matter if I'm doing a series of talks in a book, which I am right now. I'm doing The Untethered Soul. I'm picking things out of here to do talks on. Just because it's like every time I read a chapter in this book, it's like, who gave him my life? So he's reading my mail, or he's writing my mail as I read it. And I think, okay, so today's talk is about stealing freedom for your soul. And as I looked at that, I thought, stealing freedom for your soul? It didn't make sense. Does it make sense to you? Stealing freedom for your soul. Is it possible that our soul lives with the idea of separation and disconnection as well?
No.
One man says no. Other teachers say yes. Other teachers say, I'm not sure. Other teachers say it's an inside job. Find out for yourself. Those are the teachers I trust. The teachers that don't try to give me the answers and tell me what it is for me. Just like if I was to come to you and say, this is what you need to do. X, Y, and Z. Or maybe I should start with A, B, and C. What do you think your response is going to be?
Resistant.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting in a room full of Unity people, for crying out loud. Most people come to Unity not because they were inspired and were enlightened to attend here. Most of them come here because the traditional ways of worship and singing and praising, the essence of our being and the God of our understanding, is all about being a dictatorship. It's all about fear. It's all about guilt. It's all about shame. It's all about woulda, shoulda, coulda, oughtas, and all of those kinds of things. And we pretty much said, are you kidding me? This is so far from the truth and from who God is. I want nothing to do. And so we go out on this search. And so a lot of us come into Unity because we got this rebellious thing going on, saying, they don't get it, I do, I'm looking for another group of people that do you? And we come in and we hear some things, and we read some things that are Unity materials and so on, and we say, yeah, they get it, so we're going to hang out here. And they believe in meditation, they believe in affirmative prayer, they do all of the stuff that in my essence and in the spirit of my being I know is the truth, and that's the way it is. So like-minded people is who I'm looking for. I come to Unity Church of Bellingham, Unity Community Church of Bellingham, and here you are. That's the sermon. I don't like that word, do you? No. Sermon? I like talk. Or just sharing. So anyway, the talk for today is stealing freedom for your soul. You know what the prerequisite to freedom is? The prerequisite to freedom, what?
Responsibility.
Responsibility.
Being alive.
Not freedom.
Being alive. What a concept. That is what you said, right? Being alive. Prerequisite to freedom. I know some people that feel a whole lot freer when they're not alive in this form. I've met a few. And they say, oh, Lennis, wait till you get here. It's really cool. It's like, don't tell me that. I always want to go to the next place that's going to show me more light. But all we have to do is decide that we don't want to suffer anymore. And then what that means is that we don't have to I'm looking straight into the camera wondering what I'm going to say next. You know, there are no accidents. All we have to decide is that we don't want to suffer anymore. How many of you suffer? You know, maybe the fair question is how many of us are aware that we suffer? Now, let me just put it out this way. So the reason we have to decide that we don't want to suffer anymore is first to have the awareness that we probably are. At some level, in some way, we're probably suffering. As a matter of fact, we have to make a decision that we're here to live a life of joy and happiness, and there is no reason whatsoever for stress, for pain, or for fear. Isn't that the way you guys live every single day? Every single minute of every single day? Thank God for honesty. Because if you said yes, you would become my new teacher, my new mentor, my new, mighty one, please no. Most of us spend every moment of our day, whether we're aware of it or not, trying to make the world predictable, controllable, and definable. Would you agree or not agree? And so we're always looking for meaning, right? And so what we're really trying to do is we're trying to create a world that doesn't trigger our fears. Please don't upset my apple cart. Please don't upset what I have worked so hard at living in status quo or living in that place of awe, or not awe but so much, but that place of Of course, you know, on an EKG machine, that place is dead. It's a flat line. We don't want to go there. And so, how do we deal with, you know, we've talked, and I realize as I'm doing this talk, it's like, you know what, do you remember the first time I talked about the committee showing up, and I'm giving energy to the voice versus not giving energy to the voice because the voice is not who we are? It's just someone that we hired. Actually, it's not someone that we hired. It's our psyche who's been convinced that its sole purpose in being here is to make the outside world a safe place so we can feel good and safe inside. And how well does that work? Wayne Dyer says it all, I think, in one statement. He says, if I think that my peace and serenity is going to come from all of you, then you all better go into psychotherapy and get the help you need so that I can feel good about me and feel safe. I agree with him. If that's my thinking, that's what you all better do. What's the likelihood of that? Right? So it's up to me. It's up to you. I have to decide whether I'm going to suffer or not. Or whether I'm going to live the life. But it is true that most people don't know that they're suffering. As a matter of fact, one man said, actually it was this man, Michael Singer. He says this. He says, people do not understand how much they suffer because they have never experienced what it is like not to suffer. I don't know about that. People do not understand how much they suffer because they have never experienced what it is like not to suffer. Wow. Could we be living that way? I guess the true barometer is if we become so in touch with our bodies that when an event happens or a situation happens that's out of the norm for us, and we do a quick body scan, and it usually happens in less than a nanosecond, and we experience any kind of tension or any kind of stress or any kind of uneasiness, that's a pretty good indicator that that's true. That's a level of suffering. You know, I love what the Buddha says. The Buddha says suffering is about having desires, or suffering is about trying to push those things away that we don't want. Very simple. And so what does that mean? We're not supposed to want for anything? I don't think it means that. Personally, I think it means, no, sure, put it out there. We believe in scientific prayer. We believe in affirming the good, and we believe in affirming what we have come here to be and what we have come here to have and do and all of those kinds of things. All we have to do is let go of the attachment to how they show up and whether they will show up in the way that we think they're supposed to or not. I think that's what he's saying. It's like, I don't know of a human being on this planet, I really don't, who doesn't desire anything. To me, that represents flatline. I don't know, you got any thoughts about that? Do you want to share them? We could be here all afternoon. Okay, so we've convinced our psyche that its sole purpose is to make the outside world safe so that we can be at peace. What do you think the psyche is here for? What do you think your psyche is all about? Does it have anything to do with the fact that we very possibly could be and are psychic? And that it's just been misinformed? So isn't it sad that we have hired our psyche, or not hired, I don't know why I keep saying hired. It's like, you know, it does this just simple direction. I don't have to give it a thing. But is it possible that my psyche, my psychic abilities, my psychic powers are being misused and misdirected? If I understand that I have hired, or there it is again, that I have summoned my psyche to attempt at making the outside world safe for me. And so what needs to happen is I need to fire it. It's like the first time somebody told me, you need to fire your God, it's way too small. Because I was living in it with a very limited way of thinking. I could not see beyond my present physical experiences. He said, man, your God's way too small. You need to fire it and get another one. And I thought, well, there's blasphemy if I've ever heard it. And that's because I was coming from a paradigm that didn't get it. See, I get it now. I'm one of the chosen ones, right? And if you believe that, I've got lots of property for sale. And it's in all different parts of the world. You want to know what the signs of a psyche breaking down are? Underlying fear and incessant neurotic thoughts. You have any of that? Have you ever had any of that? You know, I was thinking about when I was putting this talk together this last week, I was thinking, man, do I really want to talk about this? Because this doesn't sound very good. It doesn't sound all warm and fuzzy. But you know what? I think in another way, it's one of the most freeing things that we can get. Is that if our psyche is being misused, that it is expending this energy that has really come here to bless us and show us the wisdom of the universe, the wisdom of our Creator. And we've got it doing these mundane things in this physical life so that we can feel a little bit more comfortable moment to moment, day by day. Oh man, have we sold ourselves short. How many of you have ever had an intuitive hit on something or a piece of intuitive information and you got it, and because it triggered maybe some kind of discomfort or some kind of uneasiness, some kind of fear, you didn't listen to it, you went on about your business only to have it come back and bite you in the butt a little bit later. And then you say, ow. Oh, that's because I didn't listen. You ever had that happen? Okay, maybe it didn't bite you there. Maybe it bit you somewhere else. But you saw that by not paying attention to that inner knowing. We sit in silence waiting for it, don't we? We go into meditation, tuning in to that power and that presence that we call God, that we call Allah, that we call all that is, that we call Spirit. We call it a number of things, tuning into it so that we might have a glimpse of what it is to experience some of the wisdom that created these universes, these galaxies. Isn't that why you go into meditation? I don't know about you, but that's why I go. I go because I want a little bit of peace. I want a little bit of rest in between the voices that are always demanding me and dictating to me what I'm supposed to do and what I'm not supposed to do. And you know, just to see if you can relate. It's like, in our principle number 2, I mean, I think we've got a gold mine here in Unity. And we do have 5 basic principles that really do say who we are. This is our essence. This is who we have come here to be. It says that this Christ, and in principle number 2, that we are of the essence of this powerful creator in these universes, that we are of a Christ energy, a Christ mind. And when we are tuning into that, we know, see everything. And you've all had glimpses of it. You've all had glimpses of when time stands still, in between the gap. In that place of, oh man, I would love to carry this with me forever, or have this in my possession forever. And then the moment we get into that, oh, I want more, it leaves. We've all had those experiences. We all know what it's like to be of the Christ. We've all had miracles, shifts in consciousness of the, as the Course would say it, to see and understand in a moment that I am the Christ, that I am the light of the world. But if we are oblivious to the idea or to the fact that most of us live in suffering, and the only reason we don't know that we're living in suffering is because we have never experienced true freedom except for glimpses and moments of that which we think are just little bleeps of some kind of bonus that we get for whoever knows what, that this is really the way life is supposed to be, then what? I don't even know where to go with that. So, when I'm reading this stuff and I'm studying this stuff, there's one story that keeps coming to me. Actually, that's not true. There are several stories. How many of you have heard about the man from North Korea that was raised in a concentration camp in North Korea? He was born in captivity. He was born in this camp where thousands and thousands of people are. It's their way of life. Well, it's very similar to the story of, how many of you are familiar with the village in Crystal River? It comes from the book Illusions. Oh. Well, I want to read it to you. This is what it means to live in suffering and not know it. First of all, the master is trying to teach a group of people that don't get it, a group of people that are hanging on to the old, a group of people that absolutely refuse to let go of what's familiar and what they sense is safe for them. And he says this, he says, within each of us lies the power of our consent to health and to sickness, to riches and to poverty, to freedom and to slavery. We control these, not other people. Now, of course, you've got naysayers in the audience, and there's one guy that says, well, yeah, well, if I spent every day of my life, like Charles Fillmore, 6 hours a day meditating, if I did, then I'd probably feel pretty tuned in most of the time anyway, or like you do, but I have to work for a living, and we come up with all these excuses and reasons. Same way with these people. Once there was a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. Currents swept over them all, young, old, rich, poor, good, evil alike. Each creature clung tightly to twigs and rocks at the bottom of the river, for clinging is all they knew. One creature said, no, enough is enough. Ever said that? I'm tired of clinging. Though I can't see with my eyes, I trust that the current knows where it is going. I shall let go, and let it take me where it will. Clinging, I will die of boredom. Other creatures, family members, friends, maybe not friends, but acquaintances, say this. They laugh, and they call him a fool. They said, go ahead, let go, and that current that you worship will toss you and slam you up against the rocks and kill you. That's the voice in our head. He didn't give in to the fear and let go. He was tumbled and tossed into the rocks. Yet in time, as he refused to cling, he let go, and the current carried him free from the bottom and was bruised and hurt no more. Creatures downstream said, look, a creature like us, yet he flies. See the Messiah. He has come to save us. He said, I am no more the Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free, if only we dare to let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure. They kept crying out, Savior! Still clinging to the rocks. When they looked up, he was gone, and they were left alone, making legends of a Savior. every time I read that story, I relate to it. Still looking for the Savior, still looking for the someone to show me what I don't know, to show me what I don't see. And then you know what I do? I come here. I go into prayer. I go into one of my spiritual practices. I play my bowls. I play my guitar. I do whatever it takes to bring me to the core of my being that reminds me of who I am and what I've come here to be and do. And I love it. And then I always have that sense of, and I love it because I have a community who gets this. I have a community who accepts me in my humanity and who always is willing and able to see that which is beyond me. That's the beauty of belonging to a community. I've heard people say just recently, why go to church? We don't need spiritual communities anymore. All you have to do is go online and you can take all the classes you want and get all the stuff you want. You can find coaches, you can find gurus, you can find psychics, you can find them all online. And there is something about knowing that I belong to a community that thinks like I do, that's striving for the same kinds of things that I want, which is freedom from the bondage of self. Do you guys want freedom from the bondage of your own self, of your own thinking, of that committee that is up there and just chattering away, telling you what you need to do and not need to do so that you can feel safe? I think most of us do. I think the beauty when we belong to a community like this is that we get that that's what's going on, even though there's a part in each one of us that knows our true essence is to live the Christ life, which means absent of all fear and doubt and worry. And yet, we haven't been able to let go of all of the demands that have been put on us and that we've transferred to our psyche to use all of that energy in a way that doesn't serve us and remind us of the Christ. Now, that's why I like coming to a spiritual community. And there's a reason I'm talking about that right now. How many of you remember when you came to Unity for the first time? How many of you remember when you decided to place membership with a Unity community? What were some of the feelings that were going on when you were deciding to do that?
It was like I came home.
Like I came home. That was mine. It was like I came home. Any others?
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Exact same thing. Well, you know what they say about like minds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I came to Unity, I was a hurt unit. I was not in a good way. As Uncle would say, I was in some kind of way. And I walked in and there was an angel sitting behind the desk, white hair. She was about 85 years old. I'll never forget her as long as I live. I walked out of her office 30 minutes later feeling a peace and a bit of serenity and a bit of love and heart and embrace. And it was just what I was looking for, and I didn't even know that that's what I was looking for. And then I come to a service and I hear what I hear, and I continue to go and I hear what I hear, and I continue to practice because you guys are teaching me all these things to practice to live a better life. And all of a sudden, I can't do enough in being of service to this community. Is there a prayer circle? Well, if there isn't one, let's start one. Is there a YOU program? Well, if there isn't, let's start one. And believe me, these all didn't come as divine inspirations that say, YOU, Youth of Unity, Lennis, this is your calling, go here, do that. It didn't happen that way at all. I would just show up and all of a sudden something would say, hey, you ought to do this. This would probably be right up your alley. And I'd say, no, I don't think so. And then Spirit would say, no, turn around. That's what happens when we come into a spiritual community. See, we're taking a step that says, I want to raise my consciousness and I want to see what I don't see and experience what I haven't experienced. And I want to live in the kingdom of heaven, which is at hand here and now. And so we join a place like this. And you know, when I first came here, I got to tell you, when they talked about membership and placing membership and joining, I was like, get away from me. That just means you want something from me. But in Unity, I got something different. In Unity, I got, no, this is going to benefit you beyond what you can imagine right now. So yesterday, I had the pleasure of spending a couple of hours with 4 very beautiful people, very courageous people, and they're all saying that we want to be members, we want to be identified as members of this Unity community. And so we got to sit and talk, and of course, you know, I'm a little embarrassed, but no, I did most of the talking. They did enough talking of their own for me to get a sense of who they are. But at the end of a couple of hours, I was looking at 4 people, 4 beautiful souls that I just had that warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart that, yeah, this is what it's about. It's not about joining a group or looking for a place that can use all of my gifts and talents, although that will happen. But it is about being a part of a loving community. It is about, and there was something else that came to me what it was about, but it was about the heart. And I got to experience that with 4 people yesterday, and I want to bring those 4 people up right now and introduce them to you. Some of them, well, wait a minute. All of them you know. Not everyone that's going to stand up here. You guys are going to stand up here, aren't you? And so I was going to qualify. I was going to qualify you, actually. All right. And so some people, there's one person that is already a member. Betsy's already a member. And yet Betsy came to me, or she told me a few weeks ago, she says, but I want to attend your new members class because I've never attended one. And I said, great, come on down, which to me says, you've never had the proper introduction. Proper meaning according to my definition. And so I love ritual. And I love acknowledging people and bringing them up before other people just so they can be acknowledged and greeted and loved in a way that says, we are so happy that you are in our community. So with the 4 people that were in the class yesterday, please come forward. Well, I take a drink of water. So I'm going to ask you all to stand right over here. And so, kind of like speed, all ceremony. And so what I want to do is I want to give these certificates. And what these certificates say is Unity Community Church of San Jose, California is proud to accept, and whatever name is on the line, as a member on February 24, 2013. The first one that I have is going to Audrey. And Audrey, I'll tell you what, you are a delight and an inspiration. And I'll tell you, when I was going through all of the stones, because I like to present people with some little sweet token that represents at least an experience that I have of them. And what I experienced with Audrey was will. Audrey has a very strong will. That's what I got. She's honest, you're honest, you speak your truth, you know how to get your needs met, and you know how to say yes. I want to be seen, and I want to see. And so will came up for me yesterday. So I give you this as a token just to say thank you, and let it remind you that you are connected with the Christ light and that your will is divinely guided always. And welcome to our community. And no clapping until they're all done. And the next one is going to Betsy. Now, when I look at Betsy, I don't know about you, when I look at Betsy, I just get prayer. It was so easy. It was such a no-brainer. About 5 of them spoke to me. They all said prayer. This is Betsy, the consciousness of prayer. And what that represents for me is a meditative, silent peace and a withdrawal, and at the same time, a power that comes from the other side of it. And that's how I see you. And I would have never known who you are to the level that I know who you are, which is still this much, if it hadn't been for conversations I've had with you, for reading statements about who you are and who you have come here to be. So Betsy, I am very honored that you are a part of this congregation, this community, and I also see you as a living, walking prayer of who we are and what we're about. So thank you for that. And the next one is for Ray. Now Ray, you've been around a while. I get that. You've been around a while. You've been through a lot of life and lived a lot of life. And yet you still show up. You're teachable. You're open. And you even are aware that you have some things going on in the physical that make you feel a little awkward and a little out of sorts at times, and you never let that stop you. You always show up and say yes. And to me, that takes an enormous amount of strength. courage out. See, I could give you guys all the stones, and they would probably fit, no problem. But this one came out really strong for me, that you represent the kind of strength that I hope that I live my life representing. And so, Ray, thank you for being a model of strength for me.
Thank you.
And for being a part of this community. And so Erna, now Erna, Erna came to me, and the stone that spoke to me about you is grace.